Hmm. Oh my God, we're live. If only you had seen the
the ridiculous.
I'm gonna say there was a little bit. That was a very LSD thing that we just did. There was a very psychedelic like thing. I don't know how else to describe that.
I'm gonna go with LSD / brotherly. It's a very brotherly thing to do.
It's both of those things. Anyway, Adil and I were just trying to frame ourselves up in this split screen so that it was like one half his face, one half my face.
Yeah, see, we're still trying to do it. We still can't get it.
Damn, that's hard. That is so hard to do.
Wait.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway,
got the photo. I actually got the photo of that one, so that's good. That's our best one yet.
Okay, and there was absolutely no valuable marketing lesson to be learned there.
Except for having fun, which actually comes into step number 1 of research. Have fun with it.
Nicely done. So what we're here today to talk about is, in fact, how to do research. Now, if you've been following me for any amount of time, you have heard me say words to the effect of the stuff that gets you successful is almost always not the sexy stuff. It's almost always not posing at the live event with the cool people. It's almost always not the, God forbid, the Lambo. It's almost always not your bling bling. It's always the stuff. I mean, this is part of why so few people ever really make any money in this game. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yeah. Real money. Now, I mean by real money, it's like real wealth. They'll make money for now, and then it'll disappear.
And I would say, if that, they'll make money for now, if that. It's tough, man. It's tough. And it's tough because when we come into this space, I mean, I just can't stress this enough. It's so full of these absurd promises. It took me 3 or 4 years to just finally go, all right, I'm going to learn copywriting. And that's 3 or 4 years of just it being clear that copywriting was, there's no other thing that will take its place in the area in which it functions, right?
Yeah.
And I resisted and resisted and resisted because I had all this idea of the easy stuff. Research is the same way, brother.
Yep. I just realized
Brendan.
I can like zoom my camera out so I look like I have more of a face. I was like, it's way too close. I don't just figure this shit out. Don't get mad at me. I haven't eaten.
No, and I'm not judging you. I can't say nobody's judging you.
I was going to say everyone. Yeah, I don't really care. By the way, just to give you guys a heads up, the relationship Manny and I have, if you've never seen us together or have any conversation, the thing is pretty much Frank Zappa-esque most times. Mainly because like I'm starting to grow into a Frank Zappa kind of look, even more so. Like every time we've spoken, it's gotten closer.
Right. And I personally celebrate that. 2 people that I can see are on the call are both in my membership group, and I was actually talking about you in expectation of this call and how you're turning into like, what did I say? I said, if Jim Morrison and Frank Zappa had a baby.
I could go with that. The Lizard King is kind of a badass. I'm good with that. Riders of the Storm, mofos.
Totally. And a great writer.
Oh, one hell of a writer.
He was a great writer. So let's talk a little bit about research. I want to kind of this time, normally we banter and I'm sure we will, but I want to give the mic over to you on this one. Because in the membership program, those of you watching, this is not the membership program. This is the free group. In the membership program, I talk a lot, like I really try to demystify what it takes to, be able to make steady income in this line of work. And by this line of work, I mean anything you do where you attract your clients from social media.
Yes.
And so this time I want to just give it over to you and get your take on research. And let's assume, Adil, that it's primarily, coaches in the popular industries, mindset, fitness. Yeah, you know the drill.
Yeah.
Everybody in your world.
pretty much the way I've structured this, by the way, mentally for people at home and for Manny's sake as well, because I think the rule is always the case of, and this is a running joke between Manny and I, it's, hey, so when are you doing this thing? Oh, whenever you want. Great. Hey, Adel, have you got like so you're talking about this. Have you got any slides? And just show up and do it. But I always come with a plan. So here's what basically it comes out with. So we're going to cover this in 3 topics. This is for someone that is just starting out in the sense of I don't know how to do any research. And this is someone that has some research inside. And then this is someone that's actually sold product and they want to refine their research so they can actually serve a better market. So we're going to cover all 3 over the course of this training. So let's get right into it. So let's just say that you're stepping into the coaching world, or you're stepping into a new industry that you don't really know a lot about. How you research today is 1,000,001 times easier than ever before in history. And I can tell you the simple reason is because people share too much in a good way. Think of it this way. 1965 till 1975, and anyone from that kind of generation, the landline was always seen as, oh, I have to be careful what I say. The government's listening. They're tapping into our phones. I'm paranoid. Now, like, hello, government. Let me tell you what I'm thinking. It's like, it's true. It's so true that way. And as a marketer, it's that you take advantage of that, because take it this way. Let's say you're a fitness coach and your number one dude in the whole wide world is who? Like, who's the one guy that actually, let's go. You're a fitness coach, and what you do is you help people get in shape based on, like, you help people that are skinny, small framed, get in shape and actually build strong muscles. Because as an ectomorph myself, tall and skinny, it's really hard for me to build muscle. Which is cool because it means I'm skinny, but also it means that, you know, my strength doesn't look as obvious. I can't lift as heavy. But there are ways around this to actually, to increase your strength and stuff like that. Let's say that's who you're marketing into, and that's my marketplace. Yeah. All you do now is look at everyone that is of that body frame and see what people are talking about. Specifically, right now, you can literally Google and type in biggest struggles of an ectomorph, and it will give you a list of their symptoms. Now, you take those lists of those symptoms and you go to a place called Reddit, which I'm pretty sure all of you know, because Reddit has a sub-thread on everything, including, I'm pretty sure, cannibalism at some point.
Including you guys watching, including your mama.
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone has a subreddit. There's literally everything. There is literally a subreddit called Yo Mama. I'm not even kidding. It's one of my favorites. I will say my all-time favorite, if you guys want to have a laugh and having a bad day, please go visit Florida Man on Reddit. It's just the best. It's just news clippings of Florida Man did something or Florida woman did something. And just as a side note, and this does make sense in a moment, and also because I want to get this laugh out there, which is quite simply this: Florida woman stabs Florida man with a squirrel was my favorite headline. That was my favorite headline of all time. I was like, I'm sorry, so much curiosity. I got to read this.
Right. Yeah. So that's a master class in headline writing.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. That's how you get like people in. So what you end up doing is when you go through the research process, you actually look at what people are looking for specifically in that world. Like, what are their struggles? What are their biggest upsides, downsides? What are they thinking about? Essentially, there are so many things that we'll just share with you, including what they've tried that worked and what they've tried that's failed. And this is instrumental, because if all you do is look at what worked, you'll keep recreating programs that everyone else has kind of done. If you look at what has failed, you're able to look at what you can include into your program that everyone else is missing out. So for instance, people like, I've tried every workout program under the sun, but they keep trying to factor in like, I have enough time to eat 5 meals a day. Right. Or like, I need to meal prep and I hate meal prepping and I love snacking. How do I do all of this? So if that was the case, you can literally break down going, yeah, just make your own snacks or get these snacks that are somewhat healthier for you, pack them in your, whatever it is, just an underlying thing that could be done. And, you can also do like ectomorph diets for people in COVID. Like if you work from home, this is how you would train your body differently than if you worked at a 9 to 5. Whole different ball game. What I'm getting at is when you look at the research of what's going on, step 1 is basically getting that from Reddit and looking at the blogs. Step 2, go join a bunch of Facebook groups. Yeah, like, seriously, there are so many Facebook groups on everything under every coaching subject under the sun you can think of that you can essentially just join one, and you don't have to post right away. But the easiest way to really get engagement going, I'm going to give a quick shout out to my good buddy Adam Lyons for coming up with this. I'll give you a variation of it. So essentially, it's giving a tip around a problem and then asking everyone else to give their tips around the problem. So it could be something along.
Yeah. Hold on a second. All right. So first of all, you guys watching, say something. At least put an emoji on the screen, but show up.
Comment on my head if you want to.
Yeah, success is not created by those that don't that hide out on stupid live streams. All right, Shuvik, Fred, Brendan, you guys are showing up. I love it. Good men. Say something, you guys. I see that there are more of you on here. Sadhu is there. Excellent. So for you guys that are, especially those of you that are in the wolf pack, I really want to focus in on what Adil just said.
And I'm going to say right now, not mine.
That was a genius research question. Give a tip around something, and this would be something you're doing research on. So Fred and Sadhu, mindset and well-being, right? Yeah. Give a tip on that and then ask for other people's best tips.
Yeah. And by the way, don't make it generic. Make it very specific. Like mindset's kind of the obvious one that can be quite hard. Like, oh my God, everyone knows every tip under the sun because what is it? Set goals, blah, blah, blah. Let's say the problem is setting goals. Like goal setting is the problem. You can go the reverse way and give a negative tip here. And the negative tip is something along the lines of one of the worst ways to set your goals is blank. What other atrocities around goal setting have you experienced or seen in the industry? Nice. Comment below. Let's get a thread going. Let's have a conversation. Because you can put it in a positive or a negative. Essentially, all you're doing is getting people to respond back and tell you what they're thinking. That's what you really want to know.
Exactly. And guys, this is what we just covered in the last call. I was showing them different ways to get people to say it in their own words. And I was talking about like questionnaires that have a love letter question. You know, you lead them in slowly, yes or no, multiple choice, then love letter. Now, Brendan asks, Adil, I do B2B and sell a software that streamlines their marketing and sales process. What research do you recommend I would do specifically for small business?
Yep. Okay. So it sells B2B. What do they do? It says B2B to...
can you not see the questions or the comments?
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me check over to here. There we go. Yes, I can. Super. Cool. That streamlines their marketing and sales process. What research do you recommend for small businesses? Okay. Hey, Brendan. Good to see you here. Brendan. So, So the way I look at it is the research that you have is fairly simple for that kind of marketplace for business to business. Is you got LinkedIn. LinkedIn's one of your best friends to that kind of thing. If you build up enough connections, people actually do respond back better on threads rather than in groups on LinkedIn. So if you connect with a bunch of people that are all business minded, and what you say is that your software that streamlines the sales marketing, you can either look at your competition, like LinkedIn has their own that was sales something,
Sales Navigator. Yeah.
Sales Navigator. Sales Navigator is a good one. Salesforce is another one. HubSpot is another one that you can look at on how these companies actually use software to streamline sales and marketing processes, as well as ActiveCampaign, and see what they're missing out on. So if what you do is essentially help them understand like what metrics they're actually getting, how to streamline it, what to put together, and how to put their stuff out there, and then move them from move the free line essentially down to a sales conversation, then either automate the selling process or get them on the phone. If that's what your software does, that's the assumption. Because again, I need a little bit more data. But if that's the assumption of what you do, then when you're actually putting these posts out, the way you do your research is look at Reddit groups, look at those businesses, and actually make a note of what they're not doing. And the best part with the internet nowadays is you can go online and type in this magical phrase. It is whatever your competition is, review, and they will tell you the pros and cons of it.
Oh shit.
So you can go HubSpot review, like HubSpot Sales Navigator review, and they'll tell you the good points and the bad points.
What about me as a coach who teaches marketing? If I wanted to utilize that to sort of, because one of the things I'm really focused on is like finding that language that cuts through, because it's not generic. It's not buzzwordy. It's, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And you and I have this like in spades because we speak our audience's language quite often, and you do it because you have your personality and charisma. And by the way, that is something I will say right now. Having personality is everything. That is essentially one of the key master skills. And you might be thinking, I don't have personality. You do. If you have friends, if you have people that you talk to, if you have people that get on with you, hell, if you're on Facebook and have people talking to you like this, guess what? You have friends. Just have a conversation. This is like more part 2 and 3 of what we're going to get at, but and both, to be fair, like you can literally use the organic strategy on both. LinkedIn actually works just as well as Facebook, but it's a little bit easier because LinkedIn is where Facebook was 9 years ago.
Yeah, the thing about LinkedIn, Brendan, is you have to look at it as in terms of its pros and its cons. It's a much smaller audience. They are by and large, I'm not even going to say by and large. I'm going to say if you paint with a broad brush, it's more a place where professionals go. But all of its sort of idiosyncratic platform behavior makes it really difficult to cut through.
Yeah, it's a real pain in the ass, which is why, as a book recommendation, is my friend Sam Rathling. That's Rethrling. Sam Rathling. She wrote a book called Linked Inbound. It's a really, really good book about getting your LinkedIn profile set up and how to sell on LinkedIn. So if you apply Manny's strategy with Sam's ideas around LinkedIn, you are going to crush it. And here's the reason why. LinkedIn's average user is a 6-figure earner. The average person on LinkedIn is a 6-figure earner. So if you're a B2B salesperson, what you do is sell. If you sell with, so if you're basically going through a whole situation where you've got like the whole, like your software is selling to that kind of marketplace and it's streamline things and getting things together. A really easy way to build that up is start connecting with other people in the industry that are more your ideal client, and then start very easily posting things that will get their responses. So look at what they're already plugged into. So if your audience is like really into HubSpot, really into like Sales Navigator, and what you've done is looked at the reviews, and the reviews are largely like the one negative might be it's really expensive with their monthly, what they have, and blah, 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 blah. Then what you can, and like it's not worth the money for them, what you can really do here is just start, instead of like bashing Sales Navigator, obviously, you can just go with something a little bit more vague. You can vague book about it if you want, which is really good for LinkedIn. And it's something as simple as, to give you an idea, hold on, let's make a thing. It's like automation for sales and marketing software seems to be going crazy right now, including our own company. But what I will say that's really made me happy is the way that it's evolved, that the software now works much better than it used to. But the only downside is because of the databases that we have and new access we have more competition than ever before. Or you can just say, what you can say is there is more competition today for your attention than ever before. Using software that streamlines the sales and marketing process is absolutely key. But it's knowing when to use that software, because if you dive in too early, you're just wasting money that could be otherwise used to bring in clients. But if you invest at the right time into the software, it becomes an investment that pays out dividends. So here's how you do, or like, here's what we do differently. And then you don't talk about your company, just say, here's how I run this differently. Is when a customer comes through my automated software, this is what we go through, A, B, C, D. And say, I'm going to do a live demonstration tomorrow, just check it out on video. And then of course you do a quick little video. Don't show them the software, talk about your process. So like, we put this out there, we do this, we do that. And then once they're in, this is our follow-up. This is how we follow up with them. Now, of course, I can go into a little bit more detail about this. And if you want to know more, send me a DM. And of course, I'll reach out to you and we can demo the software. Like, we'll demo what we've got, because we've actually built a software to take care of a lot of the hard work for you. This is a great, just a very simple call to action in those areas. I mean, don't make every post that kind of way. Sam, again, like I said, Sam has a really good way of doing this, specifically for LinkedIn, that goes through their algorithm that works really, really, really well. Now, Manny, your question on what if you are a coach or a consultant or someone like that, there's so many of them in the whole wide world. How do you do what you do? Well, very simple. Look at who your competition is and type in their name and put the word review.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
That's like you can literally find that with if it's someone that's like fairly underground, fairly unknown, they don't have a lot of like following or whatever it is, but they make money. Like, so for instance, I'll give you an example. I think my name, you won't be able to get much on me on the word review just simply because I don't put myself out there that much. I kind of do like fun things like this, and if you know me, you know me. Whereas someone else like a contemporary of mine would be someone like Gary Halbert, the great legend himself. You can go back and look at what the reviews of his courses and products are, or his methodologies. Then you can see and compare it to how it's changed over time, because you apply for inflation, apply for today. And you see who the next person is. There's a great Gary Halbert type. There's a certain copywriter who I'm not going to mention, but if you Google their name, like certain copywriters, if you Google their name and write the words review, you'll get the pros and cons of them. And you'll very quickly understand what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, and where you want to stand. So there are some copywriters, of course, there are some coaches, and there are some other people who don't have the same ethical morals that you do.
Right.
Great. So that's what you do. Go to them and go hit their reviews and see what their customers are complaining about. And then find a way that what you do with your marketing is you make those values the biggest shining fucking light that says, I am not that guy. And here's how I am different. That makes you stand out immediately.
It's just, hold on. I got to tell my assistant to go do that right now.
Yes, that's the one, Brandon.
Sadhu asks the book title and author name again, please.
Brandon just basically put it in. It's linked in down.
Yeah, good.
Cool. Sam Rathling. Cool. But yeah, this is what's really crazy about it. It's like you do connect with more people on Facebook than you do on LinkedIn, but it really depends on how you do it. Again, this really comes down to knowing how to do it, which is why I recommend Sam's book, because she is an ace at this. I am not, because LinkedIn is not my platform.
Well, I always say that, have as many platforms as you can manage. But you got to be able to self-evaluate and realize if you're not really managing any of the platforms effectively, because we tend to, like, one of the things inside my membership I'm constantly harping on is, like, even at its most simple, your business is going to be complicated. So keep it simple, right? Yep. We don't need more shit to think about. I think of John Coltrane, who famously said in an interview, "Man, I'm trying to get less things to think about." Okay.
Yeah. And it's so true. It's so true. One of the truths that just manager said, by the way, take that as a note, because it is absolutely freaking essential. And to give you guys an idea of this, I am a course junkie. Right? I will put my hands up. To give you guys an idea, I have a 4 terabyte hard drive full of information, from everything from how to choke a man out in Brazilian jiu-jitsu to how to bake the best bread in the whole damn world by Anna Polina, right? I've got everything and everything in between, because I love learning. It's one of the things. It's the reason I have a mass bookshelf behind me. And this is only half the books. So I just pick and choose. So when I'm on social, if you really look at it, I love the places that I love hanging out most. Instagram is fun for DMs and talking to people, but I don't really use it. Facebook is my favorite profile place because I've been on there for so long. LI I'm not really much a fan of. YouTube I'm getting more into. And Clubhouse is my favorite thing in the whole wide world, because Clubhouse, I don't spend all my time there, but whenever I speak on Clubhouse, I walk away with clients that I know that if I'm on Clubhouse, I'm making money. I don't go on Clubhouse just for the fun of it. I just go to make money there. Facebook is my fun place. I spend way too much time there. But even that being said, I've been dialing it back, Manny and I Manny has known me for a long time, and he's given me many, many compliments over the years. But one thing I will ask you, Manny, and this is kind of a case in research for myself.
Yeah.
Have you seen my posts change over the last year, and their frequency and consistency and the engagement I'm getting?
Taken on a month by month, yes. Over the course of a year, it seems about the same. But most notably, what I notice about you is that you will sort of disappear for a while as you're going through stuff. You'll obliquely hint that you're going through stuff, and then you'll come back strong with a good content push for a certain amount of time.
Yeah. And then I'll hit my next step when I'm going through some stuff, and then walk away and come back again. It's known as, I don't do that on purpose. Just life sometimes throws me a couple of curveballs, but The good news is switching out my business and changing directions from copywriter to more copy consultant has made that a little bit easier, because the thing is, if I spend too much time on Facebook, what ends up happening is I start taking on ideas from the idea I already have, and I deviate and becomes a whole other thing. But anyway, going back to the whole research aspect of it, or what I'm looking at is, even when I'm posting stuff, like a couple of weeks ago, 2 of the most popular posts I actually put out, one was and Manny commented on it and then commented and was like, there's a couple of people posting this. And it was born out of frustration. I thought 3 people were going to respond, which was, does my race really matter to you? And of course, I know the people on my list, it doesn't really matter to them. But for some people, it did. And if it did, I was like, I encourage you to speak up, because all I want to ask is why. I don't really care if it's like, oh, I hate you. It matters to me because of this. I'm like, cool. Good for you. Like, happy days. I'm not going to be a dick about it. I just want to know. Then the other one was on Dr. Jordan Peterson. I was like, do you like him? Do you not like him? Why and why not?
Right.
Like, I have no horse in this race, but all I'm doing is I'm finding out of my audience who they relate to and how they see things. Because if the majority of my friends are liberal, but they're open-minded and into Jordan Peterson's psychology stuff, that gives me a very keen indication that who I have is someone that is they're a libertarian. If anything else, they're in the middle, because they're like, look, there's some shit I'm conservative about, and there's some shit I'm very liberal about. Personal freedoms, liberal. Critical thinking, conservative. And that gives me the agenda that I can post towards my audience. So you can ask provocative questions as long as you take away the emotional charge for yourself behind them. So for instance, you can post your own beliefs up there. The danger I have with that is that you will get attacked. And some people have thin skin, and then they'll like freak out. And then what will happen is that you don't know who's watching. A client may see that and completely stop doing business with you, because like, well, we don't really get along because this, that, the other. Like Michael Jordan once famously said, what was it? Conservatives buy Nikes too. Yeah. And that got him almost butchered, but he managed to recover because the way he was being honest. He was like, I'm not getting in the middle of politics. It's not my game. I'm a basketball player. Same with you. You're a business owner. Like, don't play the political game so much as like find out what people are thinking and understand what you can approach them with. So if someone is super far right wing, away from everything I could possibly believe in, and they're very adamant about this kind of way that they think, I'm like, cool, I know the language I use is going to piss them off, and eventually we're going to stop being friends.
Right. Exactly.
That's fine, which is fine. It's okay. But that's what you got to look at, is that, by the way, this is how you start figuring out language patterns. What I'm saying to you, please take note of what I just said. It's figuring out language patterns, because people will tell you exactly what they're thinking. Read their posts and see how they are actually responding to them, because they may actually respond back to a post like, oh, that guy's a complete asshole. He doesn't know what he's doing, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay. And if you ask them, where's your evidence for this? And they're like, no evidence. You're like, okay, this person is completely emotional and they respond off of this. They're a very reactionary type person. Okay, because they're reactionary, and it turns out a lot of my audience might be reactionary. Great. You start building that out. You start building something that allows people to become reactionary in a positive. So you might be thinking, how do you build something that's reactionary and positive? Well, a reactionary comment could be, a really good person that does this is our mutual friend, Kyrie Oliver. Like, Kyrie's really good at getting people to react to him. But his own words, because I've spoken to him multiple times, his whole thing is he just says it and just leaves it. He's like, this is what I was thinking that day. And because he has that chilled demeanor that he will let you, it doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on, he's going to challenge you. If he doesn't agree with how you're presenting it, he's going to challenge you to defend your evidence. Yeah. And the same thing happens because the audience that actually goes ahead and shares their actual knowledge and shares their reasons why, guess what? They're now giving you more of an insight onto their brain and to their thinking. Once you understand the language patterns of what they're thinking, that brings you to the next step of how I research, which is I go and find who they listen to. If they listen to Joe Rogan, Jocko Willink, Tony Robbins, they follow, like, it's mostly men that I've just named right now, but like there's other women like Brené Brown. They actually go and listen to like some of their favorite comedians are like Eliza Schlesinger. There are so many other people that, so what I look at is what is it that they're watching. Yeah. This is going to sound a little bit obsessive because I am obsessive. What I do is I kind of, so once I've got, so this is like when you're starting out, don't really have many clients. And this is a really long way of doing it. Once I found out what my audience watches, I actually set up a brand new YouTube account. And then I watch all the stuff they're watching for the algorithm to dictate what they're giving me. So this way I know my audience and I are watching the exact same thing.
Stop. Hold on. We've got to say that part again because that's next level shit.
Oh,
By the
yeah.
way, I love Eliza Schlesinger.
She is hilarious.
She
I went to see her
is-
live.
She's a beast. She is destined to be one of the all-time greats.
Oh, without a doubt. That girl is on fire.
Yeah, and not great for a woman. She's
No, just great. She's like right up there in my opinion.
Yeah.
If I was to put her with comics, I'd say she's on par with Bill Burr. That's where she's at in my books.
I'd say she's Bill Burr, almost Louis C.K. And I don't care if he got shamed for masturbation. He's a genius comic.
Yeah.
She's one of the best. She's one of the best.
Still, by the way, if you guys are wondering what's a really good bit, go watch her show. And it's like one of my favorite bits is like they say men are hunters and women are gatherers. We gather information, then we hunt you. I was like, that kills me every time.
That's right. All right, but say that part again about the YouTube channel because that's the next level awareness stuff. And then I want you to deconstruct the language patterns thing, why it's important.
Yes, we'll get that, and I'll go into like the other side was I already have products and I already have sales because this works universally. So this is a next level kind of obsession. All right. Yeah. What you do is I literally sign up a new YouTube account because I know what my audience are watching. And then what I do is I go and look, algorithms exist for a reason. They program you to think in a certain way. So take advantage of the machine. So what I do is I watch all the same stuff my audience watches and wait for it to start showing me what they're watching as well. So if I'm like, so let's just say my favorite 3 comics, or my favorite top 5 comics of all time, not all time, but very recently would be Louis C.K., Dave Chappelle, Bill Burr, Joe Rogan, Elijah Schlesinger, and let's just throw in like 2 more in there. Oh my God, Esther Pavinsky, who I love. Oh, Ethel Pavinsky. I love her because her stand-up show is called Hot for My Name. And I'm like, that is just so brilliant. She's really messed up, has a really dark sense of humor. I'm like, I'm into that.
Yeah.
Oh, see that, dude. But like, what ends up happening is when you actually do this, it starts showing you up who else they're looking at. And if I start looking, because it doesn't just show you comedy, it starts showing you politics. It starts showing you podcasts. It starts showing you what else they're doing. And because you're looking at all of this, what ends up happening next is you can look at, and now we're getting to the next step, is you can deconstruct language patterns because YouTube, lovely as it is, has biases. Biases they show you are in the keywords in the thumbnails of the videos and the titles of the videos. So the YouTubers are very good at showing up, are taking advantage of the type of language that audience uses. So if, for instance, you're a libertarian in the middle and you lean a little bit more liberal than you do a conservative, don't be surprised if you end up having Philip DeFranco show up on your YouTube channel, like when it's there. The reason being, as a suggested video, is you can look at how like Philip DeFranco, aka Sexy Phil, basically goes ahead and talks to his audience, how he has that direct connection with the audience, what type of words he uses, how he relates. And the next level above that, because it's a little bit obsessive, and I'd say get a VA to do this, not you, have them go through the comments and look at the languages and the responses that are coming back. Like, what are the top rated comments? What's being upvoted? What's being like said that's bad? And see what's going on. And then what you do is deconstruct that. Now you might be wondering, Adel, what does a language pattern deconstructed actually look like? Well, if you're in this world, in what, say Manny's the person that you're actually, say it was Manny. Actually, Manny, who would you say is the person that you like is a competition that's a little bit ahead of you?
With the same sort of set of values and principles, or just in teaching people?
Either or. I know I'm throwing you a curveball here.
Yeah, I don't really know who's like. I know I can name some that are a lot ahead of me, but who also are like ethically sort of. I'm opposed to them. If that helps.
Yeah, that
like
help.
Traffic and Funnels, Russell Brunson, Russ Ruffino and Clients on Demand.
Could I drop one thing that's kind of funny about Traffic and Funnels?
Yeah.
Who I originally was one of Taylor's original copywriting teachers. So sorry guys. He was with me for a very short period of time.
You know what? He was probably like Anakin. You probably couldn't see it at that point.
I still say it's love because I love Chris. Chris and I have known each other for ages. He's a lovely dude. Taylor's a good dude, but yeah, whatever. We're not getting into that. We're kind of in that shape. But what I'm getting
interview.
This is a whole different interview of like people I've worked with that somehow weirdly end up. Anyway, Manny knows the history of this. Anyway, when it gets really interesting is let's just say Russell Brunson. That's someone that's there, right? You don't really vibe with him, but he's doing some great things because he's killing it and everyone's following him. So what you do is, again, you go through the review process and then you look at his videos as in what his audience are watching. Mm-hmm. They're in this whole one funnel away stuff. They're all kind of this, that, the other. It's easy. And then what you do is once you go beyond the easy bullshitty crowd, you get to the real hardcore people that are like, I've got results with Russell, but this is what I really had to do to get those results. Mm-hmm. And then you deconstruct their language patterns because they will be out there marketing themselves, which makes your life easier. So you can market, because Russell does something that very few people understand. Russell spends $250,000 a month to get people into his Facebook group. Right? Do you not think it would be wise to put yourself and ask these kind of questions from like step one in that group where like potentially your audience is to get them to respond? But you'll see the language patterns, and language patterns here would be something along the lines of how they think. Are they more of a feeler? Are they more of a listener? Are they more of a watcher? Are they more of a blank? How do they think? How do they feel? What do they say? Go to their profiles. Look at exactly what they're saying and what they're watching. Again, you are going to become a stalker when you actually go through the research phase. So feel free to get the, the dingy like overall coat, the flashy coat, and of course the hat, and like
just commit.
Just commit. Grow a little. That's right. Grow a little creepo mustache. Just a whole lot, please. Just make it fun. Just post it online. I'd enjoy it.
Have fun with it.
Exactly. Just have as much fun as you want. It's fine. But essentially, what you're doing here, and that's kind of key one. If it's not fun, it's not worth doing. Well, it is, because non-sexy stuff can be fun in this, and this is one of the fun things that you can really put out there is go back and forth with that audience and see what happens. Because what you'll see is that, like, say Manny's way of doing this would be like looking at Russell, and Russell goes, storytelling is everything, and story, which again I do and I believe, but the only problem is that Russell has kind of taken the whole rags to riches angle, and everyone now has a rags to riches story, which is completely bullshit, because not everyone has rags to riches. Your rags to riches might be different, but you got to find out exactly what it is. A lot of people like, I was struggling, I was homeless, blah blah blah, and then I found this thing, and now I'm fine. So you look at that language pattern and go, these people believe that if they know their story and that's all they know, then they're going to make millions, because that's the belief they've been sold. Okay, that's the language pattern they have. How do we deconstruct that? So the deconstruction is belief towards something greater than by telling and being self equals happiness, joy, and profit. Okay, Manny, as he's putting out there, the truth of how to get there is very simple. It's the most unsexiest truth of all. Do your damn research, speak to your audience, and create what they tell you to create, and then basically tell them why you do what you do. And if you want to be authentic about it, tap into your real life reason and give them the reason. It could be something as simple as, I saw a gap in the marketplace. I realized this is something I was passionate about that I could help other people do. And now I'm going to help you do the exact same thing, because believe it or not, that works too. So look at language patterns on how people speak. And this is also down to words they use, sentences, phrases, catchphrases, things they listen back to. If they're all about the free funnel secret of blank, run. Run. They're fickle. Go deeper. Look at the people like, I'm all about the blueprint, the integration, the understanding, the start to finish blueprints that really get me results. I'm not about that life. Also, the other aspect as well is look at it from the mindset perspective. Look at what they're struggling with mentally, because it could be something along the lines of, yeah, it's all about funnels, but I'm struggling mentally to implement them because everything just seems so complex. Okay, we'll take what you know and streamline it and make it simple. If you're having an issue with streamlining and making it simple because you're a mindset coach and there is no way you can actually streamline mindset, by the way, a lot of people try and streamline. When I say streamline, they're like, oh, shorter time periods. No, less stuff to do. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be like short time. It's like a coach that tells me they can turn my life around in 30 days. I'm like, no, you can't. Because it takes a minimum 66 days for a habit to actually be formed. And it takes about 90 days for it to be like completely changed. What you're essentially doing is giving me essentially the equivalent of a cocaine bump. He's like, I'll feel good for a little while, but then
Right.
the crash is going to come back. I'm going to go back to my bad ways. Or putting me into rehab for 3 weeks. And by the way, I'm using very extreme examples here because this is how it all works in those industries. Is you go through a short-term thing, think it's going to last forever, and then you realize you're still unhappy. Case in point, as much as I love him, Tony Robbins. Dude's good if you like do his stuff over time, but it's not the best. And I'll give you an example of a really, really, really freaking amazing book that is super cheap to buy, and it's one of the best sales books in the entire world. You ready for it?
Yep.
The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. It is a short book that is a 12-month course.
Right.
It's a 12-month course and a very short book. And the reason is Og Mandino, without him knowing it or do know, like maybe he did know it, same with Dale Carnegie, it's not about quick results. It's about habitual change over time.
I mean, I cannot shout this loud enough. This is becoming my main message. It really is like abandon these ideas that you're going to get quick results. What you want is to become from where you are now, the person, iterate yourself into the person like Ultron, except not evil, who just knows how to do these things. Right. Yeah. Love it.
It's the old Jim Rohn quote. Set yourself a goal to be a millionaire, not for the $1 million, but because of the person you have to become to attract and have the $1 million will change your life entirely.
That's right.
Because it's true. I'll give you an example of this one that really works. A really good mutual friend of ours, someone that I do know that's close to him, has a very negative mindset, and that's completely fine. But I looked at it and went, I know you're leaking in positivity into that person's life, which is great, but they need to really shift and start making that inroad towards becoming better themselves, because in the long run, if they don't change and you do, it could internally build resentment between friendships and people around you. And more importantly, it could completely drastically blow you two apart because you don't grow at the same level. Think of it this way. Couples that start out, like a couple that's together and one of which starts a business, the majority of them end up breaking up over time because they change so much, but the other person stays the same. Like their ambition goes through the roof and this person's ambition come down. Or it becomes they don't like the way this person's changing because they're going out doing all these things, working all hours of the night. And instead of spending time with me, which is what I want, and involving me, blah, 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 it breaks up. So look at it from that perspective of who you become over that time. And I do want to cover this next section because it's very, very powerful.
Let's do it. Let's get into the next one.
How do you take what you have to the next level if you've already got some results for your clients? Simple. Empathy interviews are your number one way of doing this. And an empathy interview is very simple. Find the 5 people or the 3 people or the one person that's got the greatest result for you and ask them to get on the call with you and just say, hey, listen, I want to sit down with you. I want to figure out what your life was like before, what your life is like now, and what it was that happened. Like, what was it around me that really shifted? What is it that happened around that? Please, let's have a chat. When you sit down to talk to them, what you'll find is that they immediately give you all the insider language that they're thinking of. So it could be like, say you had an acne skincare program that you help someone overcome acne by putting together the right skincare and coaching them through the right foods they need to eat to clear up their acne. Let's say that's what your product was. That's the type of coach you were. What you could do here, which is really simple, is have that. I have no idea what just happened to my laptop there. Fair enough, we're back. We just freaked out for a second. But it's telling me don't give away these secrets. So I'm like, hey, we'll keep going. I don't listen to you, MacBook. And then it crashes on me. I'm like, oh, God damn it. That's fine. Anyway, going back to what I'd say is that, like, let's just say that's the person with the acne thing. What you'd look at from that perspective is that you have a conversation with them. You can sit there and say, yeah, acne is really painful and it hurts and blah, 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 and all this, that, the other. And I've kind of done my research on this and whatever. But you can write some language patterns that are completely fine, but it will never trump straight from the horse's mouth of someone that went through it and going like, yeah, one of the worst things about acne is that sometimes it leaves scarring. I mean, I was lucky that I didn't have acne, but one of my best friends did. And I can tell you, when I spoke to him about the pains of him going through acne, he was like, dude, girls wouldn't look at me. People would make fun of me. It was always constantly horrible. I was itching my face all the time because I wanted to pull them out of my face. And like, I couldn't do it. And every cream that I would try, it would hurt and sting and my acne wouldn't clear up. And all this, that, the other. And I was like, that's really interesting because you look at the depth of their pain. Look at how far they went. Now, people have this notion that you need to sell on pain. That's not true. stabbing a knife in another human being and twisting it and all this at the end. To give you an idea, if you want to know, like, if you've been sold that kind of marketing, switch where that place is going to be, and let's put that into dating. Let's say you're going out with someone and you did the exact same bullshit that you do in a sales letter on that date. So you call them out for being whatever it is, the way they look. You make a judgment call on how they think. You tell them they're incorrect on what they're thinking. You show them that there's a better way by coaching them without getting consent, unconsent. Yeah. And then you push them. And then you push them into the idea of the implication. The implication is you either sleep with me or you're gonna have the same problem again. Who does that? That is really messed up.
Oh, good. Non-consensual coaching.
That's basically what you do.
Yeah, I'm right.
I think I should brand that.
And yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, bro. Yeah.
I think we should both just put it and just like write it together on each other's posts. Like non-consensual coaching is not a thing that you should be doing. But that's the thing. A good sales letter teaches people and moves them along the path, but they want to learn. They want to figure this stuff out. By the way, just as I've ranted about this millions of times, don't use the word learn in your copy unless you're referencing yourself. But they want to know this. They want to go through it. They want to experience it. And the way they do that is by you coaching them through any kind of sales copy, any kind of promotion and marketing you put out there. But you do it in a way that is cool. So I'll give you another example of this, of how to do it incorrectly and correctly. So let's just say that same date scenario that happens in real life. Switch it. You're now on that conversation, like, oh, that's really cool. Oh yeah, I used to have this really weird issue with the same thing that you do. I actually found a really interesting way around it, but we can talk about it a little bit later. So tell me more about your day and what you've been up to. And they start telling more about it, and you're like, they ask you what you do, and you're like, oh yeah, no, this is what I do. And they're like, because the thought that's going to eventually come up, especially if you left a giant open hole that says, oh yeah, I used to have the same issue, but I kind of found a way around it. But let's just talk about each other. They're going to want to know what it was that you did. So you give them enough context of who you are and what you've done. And then you go, by the way I did this was simply this little thing that shifted this mechanism, or this mindset shifted what I was doing. And the problem with blank, which again, by the way, if you have skeletons in your closet, bring them to the forefront. If there's something wrong with your product or system that doesn't solve for everyone, bring it to the forefront. And don't try and do a one-size-fits-all kind of training. Because if you do a one-size-fits-all kind of training, the problem that you're going to get with that is some people are not going to be happy. So be upfront about it. Be like, look, if you're like an advanced person that's gone through every training under the sun, this isn't for you, because you'll find there's inconsistencies and you'll do things a different way. Whereas if, or you can just say, if it's something like Manny's system that works on a wide breadth of like from beginner to extreme advanced, because it does, because it's principled, the way that you sell that is quite simple. To say, my personal favorite type of people are people who have never done this before, because it gives them the right habits to begin with. But if you've been around for a while, you may have to undo some bad habits and bring in some new good habits. But the good thing is I show you how to do that with a very simple system of undoing what we call bad marketing speak, and give you your true authentic voice and put that out there.
Yeah.
And this is how you do it. You take away what was there, you move this new system in, and then you apply what you know already into this new system, and it works better. It brings in an exponential growth period. So when you do the empathy interviews, you'll be able to actually understand how people think and what they're doing, and write that story from a place of love. Now, there is this other kind of aspect that comes down from research, and it's more about who's speaking. And what I mean by that is the narrative of the person that's talking on Facebook, on organic traffic, and whatever it is, because everyone thinks they need to be the one that's selling all the time. The reality is not true. What you can do is you can take case studies, testimonials, and you can expand on them. So if someone's had an absolutely amazing result with you, yeah, putting a testimonial up is all good and great. But what you do is you get that permission to say, hey, do you mind if I actually change the names of what you did and who you are, and actually do like a live or a case study around this? Like, yeah, sure, go for it. And you just say, so you can just start with one of the biggest issues around, like not even one of the biggest, you can just say a really interesting point that a lot of people don't, that people have woken up to, is how mindset and mental health plays into marketing and business, and specifically how we respond in today's day and age. With social media being what it is, we're in a constant correction of competing with each other. So we kind of go down this depressive road if our everyday life doesn't match as our competition's highlights, or if the highlights we put up aren't as bright as everyone else's, like someone seems to be having amazing highlights all the time. What you do different there is you go, that was all that was going down. And because this was happening, I had a client of mine come to me that had such severe anxiety that they were constantly trying to put themselves out there. They started to affect every area of their life. They were waking up in the middle of the night to post. They would post when they were on the toilet. They would, like, if the phone buzzed while they were on a date, they would stop talking to their date to look at their phone. It started to really become their entire life. They were addicted to this device. And if you really want to see the truth, like, and you can just say, it was so funny that they got to the point where, jokingly, so like, this is how bad it actually got, that some people would say that, you know what, you don't know the fear of losing a child. Like, you don't know what it's like if you put a child somewhere, like, oh, where's my kid? Yeah, you can just say this person was so bad that you could probably say that to them, and their response would be, I misplaced my phone for 5 minutes. I had a full-on heart attack.
Right.
So, you know, you've got those kinds of bits and pieces that are huge emotional impacts and bumps. So what you do is, as a case study, and then you go, so what we did was we put them through from A to B to C, and this is what, like, we went through this A process to this B process, and ultimately yielded this C result. But you don't tell them how it happened, you tell them what happened. And you say how long it went over a timeline period. And you just keep, like, so that's like your big kind of doughy post. Now what you do over the next couple of days is you just pull from that and just, like, mini post, like tiny little post throughout the day, tiny little breadcrumb post, whatever it is, and you reference back to this until you get another case study up. And you keep doing this because people will respond to that and reach out to you and DM you. Especially with the empathy stuff, is they will, like, your person will tell you the true pain that they went through because they were coached by you. They had worked with you. They opened their soul to you to get that result. And now you can move that same kind of feeling across board. So, for instance, guys, comment on this one with, like, a thumbs up or a yes or whatever it is. Have you ever felt, if you're, especially as a coach, have you ever felt like you weren't able, like you would be found out as a fraud? Like, what if what I'm doing isn't actually a good thing, and what if I'm doing isn't getting results? Like, how many people? I'll put my hand up. I've felt this all the time. I know Manny has from time to time. I know that we've all, imposter syndrome is a real thing. It's what we do. So put your hands up underneath and let us know. Because the cool thing is, if you go ahead and post that, by the way, the first person that posted imposter syndrome a couple of years ago, insane levels of engagement. Everyone like, oh my God, that's what it's called? I thought that too. I just thought it was my own brain being weird, but it's a whole system. I can deconstruct. Like, it was such a glorifying, yes, I understand.
Yeah.
So from that same perspective, you're only going to get that. You're only going to get to that point if you actually go ahead and talk to your audience and go, cool, they feel it too. That this is the language they use, and that's how they move across. So once you conduct an empathy interview at that higher level, and I'd make it a point from the very beginning of your business, is after you've done all your research, after you got your first couple of clients, is start bringing them on, even for products or services. Ask them why they bought, what it was that changed their life, what you would do differently, and essentially get feedback from them. Get them to actually tell you everything they need to know. Once you've got that, you can really run. You're off to the races. Manny, is it okay if I do like a mini tiny plug to something else that I've done before?
Yeah. Okay. We need to wrap things up pretty quick, but absolutely.
Cool. So this is well, we can really kind of ramp this up from here, which is brilliant. So here's the way that you would do it. So here's one thing I'd say. Go and so I'm on Spotify and basically every podcasting streaming service you can find, including my site, adlermarcy.com. Don't opt in there yet, by the way. Like, there's a whole nother opt-in list. We have greatestcopywriteralive.com that's coming out in the next couple of weeks, so you guys can go check out. But essentially what I want you to do is look up an interview I did with a guy called Travis Houston. Is it Travis Houston that I'm thinking of? The reason I say Travis is the person to actually do this, to check it out, is because the dude is all about empathy. The guy is literally all about empathy in the way that he does stuff. Literally watch his podcast with me, because he breaks down how he and his wife do empathy interviews with their clients to reverse engineer their business so they can speak better to their audience.
Mm-hmm.
So that will give you all the questions. Oh, what do I ask people? Well, we got you covered. Go listen to that podcast and read the show notes, and you'll find the questions in there, which is easy enough as it is. If you want to reach out to me for anything, by the way, whether that's me consulting with you, helping you with your business, yada, 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 hit me up on here or hit me up on IG. It's just Adela Marcy. I'm literally the only one on planet Earth with this name. I know, because all the Marcys are related. We are such a tiny clan. It's really weird. But yeah. Hit me up, let me know what's up, and I can help out. Manny, any last questions in the last 3 minutes that we have, my friend?
Let's just let's summarize. What were the big takeaways?
Oh man, you're telling me, trying to remember what I talked about? God damn it.
I was hoping maybe you'd be able to, because
neither one of us can do this quite well. Okay, I can remember some stuff. So massive, huge takeaways. It is nigh impossible to do what I'm doing right now with Manny's face. It's really hard to do. Like
hold on.
You gotta keep it. It's hard enough to do as ridiculous.
That's the biggest takeaway.
That's the biggest takeaway. No, kidding. The real takeaways are, so the way that you do your research is essentially go out to your audience and find out exactly what it is. Become almost a stalker for 30 days of your audience. Go to Reddit, go to Facebook, look at groups, look at LinkedIn. And then once you've got all the data points, create a new YouTube channel and start watching what everyone else is doing as a way of bringing together the algorithm to understand the language patterns. Number two, figure out language patterns and see how your audience speak by getting a VA or yourself for a couple of minutes to see how the comment sections are reacting. And go from there. Take those same viewpoints to number three. Start posting about it with no emotion. Make sure you're not involved, as a way of getting people's responses so you can see how people respond. And by the way, there is a way to do this where you remain neutral. Case in point, my post about Dr. Jordan Peterson was very much a case of, if you don't like, what's your take on Dr. Jordan Peterson? Are you a fan or not? Why? I'm not in the middle. No one can accuse me of being a fan or not a fan. I am somewhere in the middle. Like I keep my mind open to this.
Yeah.
Because of that simple reason, it gives you an idea of who on your friends list or who in your audience is thinking what they're thinking, and it allows you to really provoke that thought process and take that data point as well as another thing you can do. And by the way, this is over a 30-day period that you're doing this. Then what it moves into is step number 4 is start looking at your advertising and start moving away from this pain-driven bullshit and bring it out to the more happy kind of like pleasure-based stuff. Now, by the way, I'm going to use Salt Bay as an example here because I did actually post about it earlier, and I should really just impose my face onto his because it just makes sense. But essentially, sprinkle a little fear on that shit. And what I mean by that, it's the very similar as making a brownie. Put a little sea salt on top of that brownie, you're going to win. It's going to taste delicious.
It's going to be better.
Same with your posts. It's like if your audience is all about like what you're selling is all about from this place of fear, guess what? Remove that. You're now selling a very sour, disgusting thing. And it's non-consensual coaching, you assholes. That's one of my favorite things ever, unconsensual coaching. Take away from that and actually go into the whole idea of giving them something sweet as a way of moving towards, and then sprinkle some of that fear and reality on top. And by the way, if you're wondering how you would do that, let's just go back to that dating example. If I'm having a conversation with someone, they say to me, hey, Adel, so how did you do that, blah, blah, blah. And I start telling them all the upsides of everything I've gone through in order to get to where I'm at. And just say, oh, by the way, but this doesn't work for everyone. There's a certain few aspects that need to be met in order to do this. And these are the things that need to be met first. If you meet these requirements, then what I'm about to share with you will work for you. If you don't meet these requirements, I recommend you go sort that out and then come back to me. Until then, it ain't going to work. So blah, 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 as you would sale. Number 4, go and conduct empathy interviews because they're absolutely brilliant as a way of finding out what your audience wants. Number 5, look at your competition and find out what people are saying about them and essentially find out how you can turn that around and put that into your product as a way of helping people out, which is brilliant. Finally, one last thing as well is if you have competition as a coach, look at who in your audience is so far ahead or has different ethical moral values than you. Find out what the ethical moral values are and what people are saying about them, and then do the opposite and actually shine a big light on how you're different to them.
Yeah.
And by the way, whatever. Oh, and one last thing, do not slander people because that will open you up to a lot of lawsuits. So instead what you say is like, here's why this person is different to me. That's different than that person's horrible and an asshole and blah, 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 under the sun. So yeah, that's basically what we're going to end with. Hope this helped.
That was awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome, man. I'm glad that could help.
All right. I hope you guys paid attention. See you, brother.